Well, hello there, everybody. This is Cryptic Passage. This is going to be the last level pack for Blood 2, or sorry, Blood 1 Vanilla. I don't know why I called it Blood 2. This is, launched separately in Fresh Supply, which is a bit odd. I don't remember having to do that with DOS Blood, but it's been so long since I played DOS Blood. So this is the, kind of polar opposite of the last expansion pack. So the one you do for, I think it's called Postmortem, that one is frustratingly hard at times. This one is fair. I would say it's pretty balanced. I don't think it's very difficult, but it does have difficult levels. It does have a lot of difficult encounters, and the beginning is pretty rough, obviously, as you'd expect. But it is pretty balanced overall. I think the main complaint I personally have, and I'm sure other people do too, is the levels are pretty large. But that was also a trend back in the 90s. Was I think one of my favorites is like the selling points for what's it called? Oh god, Rise of the Triad. It had like massive. Oh no, that was Duke It Out in DC. There was a oh man, massive level pack. Oh, it's just 3,000 kilometers, and it's like, that does not translate well. I wouldn't say this is on that level, but it is pretty big. I don't think it's not atrociously large. I don't think the levels are too unbalanced and unpaced, but the first one I'm not really a huge fan of, but some of the later ones, they start to get pretty big. I'd say the Lighthouse level is one of my favorites. I think that's the second map in this level pack. I quite enjoy it. I've only played this expansion pack maybe a dozen or so times, I'd have to say, in my entire Blood experience, if you will. So I'm not really the expert of what constitutes a good Blood level, because I have not played Death Wish either, which I've been told is very, very, very challenging. So I don't know how that plays, because I don't own it. Well, it's a free mod, but I don't think I've ever, sat down and looked up, custom Blood levels, because A, they're pretty uncommon, because A, the source code wasn't released, and B, Blood wasn't really as popular as Duke 3D. Even Shadow Warrior wasn't that popular either. I think Duke 3D is just very accessible. And spoiler alerts, if you probably couldn't have guessed by now, I'm actually going to play through the other Build Trilogy game. So the next one's probably going to be Duke 3D, if that's any, shocker, right? There's only so many, so here we go, right? One thing I can say is I think Duke 3D just had a better formula, right? It sort of works better, but it's also just, more balanced, I think, as well. I haven't really played a lot of Shadow Warrior. I always say this. It's the one game in this, entire, era of history that I really don't have a lot of experience with. And I think it's just because it's frustrating. The level design in that game isn't bad, but it's definitely not my favorite, if you get what I mean. It's just Blood had some pretty annoying shit in it at times, but it never really got to the point of just absolute insanity. There's some cryptic annoying puzzles in Blood, and there's also cryptic annoying stuff in Duke 3D. I think some of the earlier levels in Duke 3D are actually pretty well made, but later on they just start to sort of tamper off, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think Blood really didn't have too many enemies to worry about, so you can get in the groove faster, I guess. There's a lot more stuff in Duke 3D that, I don't know. I can't explain it. I have to play it to explain it, so I don't know. I think it's still a great game. This level is not my favorite, if you couldn't tell. So this one, like I said, also these textures look really, really jarring. I don't know if that's because, it was well, I'll actually get into it later on here as well, but there's a couple of textures in this map set that are just awkward. So, yeah. This switch puzzle's a bit shitty. It is timed, and I don't know if that door can kill you in this version of the game. It probably could in the original. Also, kickable buckets. So, Don't kick the bucket. We have this blood bear, blood beer, I'm sorry. I'm amazed that was never actually used in any promo for this game. That would probably be the coolest thing ever. I'd probably buy that, and I don't even drink, so you know what I mean. There's a lot of cool stuff in this level pack, but ultimately it is definitely a, you know, what's it called? User-generated kind of style, I guess, where it's not got the same polish as the official levels do, but I don't think it's really that bad. I think the main issue in these levels, in this one specifically, there isn't a whole lot of new stuff, and that was kind of the trend of these kinds of games at the time, was new levels also came with new weapons, new monsters, and I think that's my only gripe I really have going against this, is, you know, the other one you had, like, the different colored robe cultists, you had, like, a new boss enemy, you know, you had, like, you had so much extra stuff, and this one it's just levels, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it definitely is something you notice. So, also this level gets repopulated right here later on, so there's a lot of, like, just little things that I think are absent. Oh, this is that level with the lighthouse. Anyways, so it's definitely not got the same polish, I guess. There's a couple of weird, like, textures and... Oh, I love this game. But, anyways, there's definitely a lot of, like, cool shit, like this shark graphic I don't think gets used in Vanilla Blood, if I'm not mistaken. This is a little iffy. It's just supposed to be like a tide, I'm guessing, but I don't know. It looks really kind of bad. But, you know, for the time it was made, this is actually still pretty good looking, I will admit. So, and this is actually pretty cool. I like this part of the game. Little quick history of me, personally. My family, my parents, I should say, they actually really loved lighthouses. So, when I was a kid, we used to have all these little tiny lighthouse miniatures, and this is a texturing issue that I don't remember being in GDX. This is a very odd issue. It's not supposed to be like that. That's supposed to be a blank line def, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, so I kind of like lighthouses because, you know, obviously I grew up with, like, lighthouse imagery and everything like that, so I actually have been to a few. I've been to the Oregon coast quite a bit. I've been to most, if not everything, that the Oregon coast has to offer that's not fucking just sharp, jagged, angry rocks. But, yeah, I always quite enjoy lighthouse levels. I think one of my favorite areas in RuneScape as well is the lighthouse area. Like, it's just one of those little things that you sort of develop because you grew up around certain things, I guess. It's kind of cool. I like it. So, also, there's a new item that's added in this game. This level pack, but it's called, like, the medicine bag. However, it only shows up in, like, 2 or 3 spots, which is a little bit iffy. I don't know why. They just decided, okay, these are the few places we're going to actually put this pickup. One of my biggest gripes is the first time they show it that I can really think of is in an area that's actually, like, an almost instant kill, like, sector. I don't really know what the hell the intention was with putting it there, and I'll show it off when we get there as well, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's fucking weird. It's like one of the only times in the entire game that there's a damaging sector that's just that dangerous, and I don't know what they were doing with it. Like, they just decided, okay, this is going to be here. It's in the next... No, it's in the second level after this, yeah. So, actually, I'm pretty sure that just opens up a shortcut to some other chunk of the early game. So, yeah. It's weird that they let you do that, but then again, I think a lot of levels, especially, like, when this game first came out, they were probably, I mean, it was common that levels in, like, a game were just repurposed for multiplayer, so they'd have, like, a lot of sections that opened up. So, I'm guessing that's why a lot of these levels, and I'm sure it's, like, weird to, you know, most players now, but back then, you know, there wasn't, like, a dedicated, like, separate map usually for specifically, like, you know, these are the deathmatch levels. Usually it was just the level with, like, some deathmatch spawns attached to it, because admittedly that's a lot easier to program, and obviously that's why there's a lot of you know, like, deathmatch levels produced nowadays, especially in the Doom engine. Also, I quite like this level. It's very blood, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. It just... it works. I don't know why they use the track Pestis Cruento, but it's a great song, so I can't complain. So, yeah. I think if there's one thing I really, really like about this expansion pack is it uses almost every one of my favorite Blood tracks. It uses the intro level music, it uses Pastis Cruento, it uses just everything. It's really good. I like it a lot. I don't think this is, like I said, a objectively terrible like level set. I think it's just got like its problems of it's just very big. And like I said, that was a time like when games were just like, we need to make the game as huge as possible and everything's got to be gigantic, and it was just like, that's just what you did, you know? Like, you end up with maps that have a lot of empty space, and that's kind of a problem, but they do kind of mitigate that by letting you go back to certain areas later, or, you know, they add repopulate the area. So there's a lot of little things that are done in this to make it a little bit more not shitty, I guess. But it's still noticeable, especially on repeat playthroughs. I played through this about 3 or 4 times to prepare for this, so I'm not, like, bumbling my way around and getting killed. Because, like I said, I play through a chapter usually 2 times, and then if I go for a third one if I can, so I did this with all the other, like, levels as well, so hopefully I can do... Oh, you shitter, I thought he was dead. Anyways, worm-riddled filth. I love it. So, yeah, I quite enjoy this expansion, if you couldn't tell. I think it's fair. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's got, like, some problems. Also, there's a couple of things up here. You get, like, huge ass. And then, like, I like this. It's just really cool. I've actually been to quite a few theater things. I think I've mentioned before, I used to be an art student and a theater student, so I've been to quite a few like places like this in real life. Now, this is the hardest part of the level, I think, personally, so... Okay, just gotta grab that reflective shot as fast as you can, and then just sort of, you know, chunk out dudes as quickly as you can. And there's also a secret life seed in here, so that's pretty dope. Also, I think this level is obviously a reference to... I think, obviously, yeah. I'm a little tired. I've been sleeping most of the day. I was just really exhausted this week. Basically, it's a reference to the Phantom of the Opera, which I've never actually seen, and this is going to probably make someone go, huh? But it makes sense to me. I'm not actually a huge fan of musicals. I'm not a... I don't know, I just don't like them. I always feel like they're weird, like they're unrealistic or something. And I remember my previous relationship, she was really into musicals, and I watched Phantom of the Opera, I think? But I think I fell asleep. I'm not 100% certain. So don't quote me on that. I don't really know. I don't really care either. She liked it a lot, I just didn't. We also watched, what's that other one? The very, very gothic one that came out in, like, the 2000s. Repo. There we go. Yeah, we watched that. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was okay. I just don't like musicals. I also watched Hairspray, which I thought was kind of shitty. I mean, it's okay, but I just didn't like it. It felt really pandery. I think that's my problem with it. I just didn't like it very much. I'm not really a huge fan of musicals anyways, and my ex was like, oh, you don't know who that is? I'm like, no, who the fuck is that? And she's like, look harder. And I was like, oh my god, it's fucking John Travolta in drag? What the hell is going on? And that made the movie actually kind of funny. I know John Travolta was in a lot of, like, you know, he was in Dirty Dancing. He was also just a theater actor, I'm pretty sure, before. Like, and everyone knows now he's, like, famous mostly by most people my age, at least, for being in Pulp Fiction. So, oh shit! That was really spooky. Which, yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I'd rank that as, like, my top 5. That's, like, my second or... I kind of go back and forth. I think it's, like, one of my favorite movies. It's either my second or third. I'd say my first is probably Silence of the Lambs, and then it goes Pulp Fiction, and then it goes Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. Those are my top 3 movies. And then, oh, this is going to be a problem. I think that Tommy gun unit went straight in the water, and that's not a good time. As I've said before, they just... Oh my god, look at this bullshit. Oh my god. Yep, that's what I was worried about happening. Okay, there we go. As long as he's dead, I don't care. So, anyways, yeah, I'm just not a musical fan. Like, I don't know, but yeah, my top movies are pretty. I think I have like at least a semi-decent top films. I also really like Kill Bill. I guess you could say I have a bias towards Quentin Tarantino films, but I don't think all of his work's that good. I've sadly never seen Reservoir Dogs. I also am one of those people that I think most people probably watching know this by now, is I don't really like to just like something based on, oh, this person made it, or XYZ made it, because sometimes that doesn't matter, in my opinion. I liked Inglourious Basterds. I think that was actually a pretty good movie. It's okay. I just think that the problem lies, people went into it thinking it was a comedy, myself included, and it kind of goes into this sort of like weird alternate meta history of like weird shit. And I think I really love the main villain in that movie. He's fucking scary, and it's realistic scary, and I think that's what makes that movie really good. I like the tension that it builds. I don't know. Speaking of gothic libraries, sorry, I ruined my own joke. Shit. I don't know. I really like Inglourious Basterds. I think actually one of the few movies I own on DVD. Like I said, I think most people went into it thinking it was going to be a comedy. And it does have comedic bits. I think one of my favorites is just that little scene where Brad Pitt's character's talking to one of his units, and he's like, "Ain't that right?" And he's like, "Yes, sir." And he's like scalping a dude. That was actually really funny. I also think it does dark humor well. Everyone remembers the main thing I think most people think of it when they think of that movie is they think of the Bear Jew, and they probably think of Hitler going 99999. That's like the only thing I think most people probably remember. And then they had the cutaway in the commercial. Oh yes, 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 yes. That was like the one thing I think everyone thought the movie was only going to be like that. And then my dad was like, "This movie kind of sucks." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "They're speaking in subtitles." And I'm like, "Dad, I don't think people in Nazi Germany spoke fluent English." Considering, like, yeah, I don't think he realized that. I actually do like, one of the things they did was, yeah, one of the many reasons the Nazi regime didn't work was because a lot of them were just fucking psychotic and, like, obsessed with this weird alternate, like, perception of reality and shit. It's pretty accurate, like that scene where they're like, "Your dialect is actually like this. How are you actually like this? Are you one of us?" Because they were really paranoid at that time. It's a pretty interesting thing. It's not like what I'd call historically accurate, but when it is a good movie, it's a good movie at times. I think it's okay. I just think that's... Like, over the years, I've kind of deduced it's just an okay film. I think it's good in certain areas, not so great in others. I think everyone went into it thinking it was going to be some batshit, like, Kill Bill style... I mean, it does have action, it does have a lot of great violence, right? But I just don't think it was what people expected it to be based on the trailers, myself included. I try not to watch trailers, I really do, but I don't know. It's like if that movie was a musical, I'd probably be like, "Excuse me, what?" I really like the symbolism and stuff in that movie is really well made. There's a lot of really subtle shit. A lot of Tarantino films have that, which is why they're some of my favorite movies. I went the wrong way. Shit.
I need a key.
I grabbed the key, but I went in the wrong room, didn't I? Actually, let's double check to make sure I even picked up the key, because I lost track of what I was thinking a few seconds ago. I am pretty sure I did. I just derailed totally there. Yeah, I got the key. I did. So, here we go. Let's do this the right way. So, yeah, and that door right there is actually jammed. We can't open it up. We need to get a key. There we go. I'm gonna grab... Nah, I'll hold off on using the invincibility till the next room. This one's not super bad. Now, oh my god. This is what I was talking about. The scale of the levels being really big is a little bit of a pain in the ass, because you can end up doing this. This is also the health pickup in a version of Z-Doom, I'm pretty sure. It's like the 1 health pickup. It's weird. I like it. I think that's where they ripped it from. So, yeah, anyways, I also want to point out this is a very hard to see spot. So if you missed this area the first time playing, don't be shocked. I think, yeah, there we go. Also, look at the perspective. Like, they fucked up the sprites really bad here. These things are just gigantic. And they also can't be jibbed, which is really weird. I don't know. This is also on the other side of that area. But yeah, I think, I don't know, my top favorite movies are at least... Because I always say I'm not really a film person. So, when it comes to film, I don't think my opinion carries a lot of weight. I'm used to analyzing film. I'm not used to just watching film. I guess that's the only way I can describe it. Like, it's really hard for me to just sit down and watch a movie. Because I come from a background of, you know, watching films as, like, projects. Like, they'll be like, okay, watch this scene and look for these specific things, or watch this movie and then describe what this is like. And I'm trained as a, like, you know, writer and stuff to look mainly just for plots. I don't really care about, like, oh, Brad Pitt's in it, he's a great actor. I don't know what that means. Like... Or, oh, it's got J.K. Simmons in it. It's like, I don't know what that is. Like, I know who J.K. Simmons is. I'm not that stupid. But, you know what I mean. I don't watch stuff with the expectation of an average viewer. I watch things looking for themes. I watch things looking for, like, metaphors or something like... I do it because that's what I'm used to doing as a creative person. So I really have a lot of trouble watching just a casual film, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I just can't do it. It's super hard for me to do. So, The Lost Monastery, this level is actually pretty challenging. I don't think it's the hardest, but it's one of the ones that just bottlenecks me up a bit. I think it's something to do with the lack of health kits, but I don't know. I don't think it's a bad level, it's just a little bit, like, weird. I think it's something about the design. I just don't like the design very much. I think it's cool, but I don't really know how to explain it, but... Maybe I'll be able to explain it playing it at the same time, but we'll see. But yeah, I really don't have the ability to just appreciate, like, a funny movie, like, or, you know, I can't just sit there and watch, like, 6 hours worth of fucking garbage TV or whatever, you know. I hear people like, oh, I binge watch this. I'm like, I can't sit down and watch something for more than 20 minutes if it's not, like, educational or something. I just can't do it. I'm not saying I just only watch. You could actually look at my... YouTube feed if you're ever curious of what I like to watch. Like, I watch like 2-hour long like analysis videos of like the most minute bullshit because I find that enjoyable, but of course I do like, you know, some things that are pretty average. Like, I watch a lot of oh, what's it called? I've been watching a lot of Swampletics lately. I don't know why. If you don't know what that is, you're not going to be looked down on, but you know, I've been watching a lot of that, and then Jimmy, the YouTuber that does old school RuneScape content, because I like seeing people play RuneScape in weird ways. I think that's my new favorite thing. Would I ever do it? Oh, fuck no. I don't want to. But I like watching, like, Iron Man extreme challenges, like One Chunk Challenge, and it always blows my mind because they're like, oh, look, I got like a 99 woodcutting in 2 weeks. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? How do you have the patience to do that? That's just... I don't know how people do that. They really... People like, was it Vert or whatever his name is, or Framed? They just... Jesus, man. Or Stranding or whatever. I don't know how they do it, but my hat's off to you. You guys are nuts. I can't stand doing a task. Oh my god, what the fuck? I can't stand doing something for more than an hour of my time and it's not really going anywhere or doing anything. So my hat's off to you, man. You guys are nuts. But yeah, I also like these unique sprites. They don't jib, they're just there. It's something that's always kind of weirded me out. I also thought this would be a secret my first time playing, but it's not. It's just a decoration. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a confusing progression note. So, to go around, you just gotta do this. And then you can go ahead and get your next key. I kind of like that. It's kind of clever, but it's also almost too clever, if that makes any sense. Like, this... How would you really guesstimate that, oh, look, there's the window and there's this. And then, oh, there's the window you really don't have a good sight line on when you're coming in. So, I mean, I get it. It's not a terribly designed secret. It's just weird. Or it's not a secret. It's just main progression. So, you can go in here and pick up some flares if you really want to. There's not much in that room. You can't use that door. It's actually locked. So, you gotta go all the way back out. So, Anyways, I think, yeah, I don't really watch a lot of anything worth that much of anybody's other opinion, I guess. I don't watch, like, very exciting shit. I just don't have the time. The reason I watch, like, hour-long videos is because I can fall asleep and wake up and remember where it was and then just be like, oh, okay, here we were. Oh, fucking hell. Damn it, I forgot that guy's right there. There we go. You want to take care of that guy now, because this next part can be a real bitch. So, ooh, that was lucky. So, this is the level that I was talking about that has a really weird, like, sector on it. I'm not going to demonstrate it because it's very fucking dangerous, but also, you notice what I mean. Like, there's a lot of area, but there's not a lot of threat because the area is so large. It doesn't really... I don't know. I also have no idea what this Shadow Cloak item does. I'm just going to pick it up, though, because why not? So... Oh, this part's nasty. I'm not a huge fan of it. Okay, good. So, like I said, giant dudes. I don't get it. I don't know why they... They just could have imported the sprites, but they didn't, and it's really weird. Also, this statue gives me the willies. I know it's a sprite limitation. It's not actually a voxel. It's just... I don't know, like... See, you can collide with this, but you can't jib it. It's weird. I don't know what the hell the coding reason is behind all this. But, yeah. I've been watching Swampletics. If you don't know what he's doing, he, I think he's already finished it, I'm pretty sure. His point was to get to Theater of Blood, which, those of you unfamiliar, Theater of Blood is like Raids 2, basically, in, RuneScape. And it's very high-end game content. It's very challenging, very tricky. I mean, you can solo it. I mean, you can solo Raids 1 as well, but it's tricky. I still haven't done Raids. I'm really behind. But basically, what's his name is playing like an Ultimate Iron Man, meaning he can't bank, and he also can't buy stuff off the GE. So, and he can't trade. But he's also limiting himself to only Mauritania, which is a relatively challenging area. This is the sector! Watch this. Actually, I will demonstrate it. Watch how fast my health goes down. Yeah! Look at that shit! What the hell is up with that? Look! It's not a bug! It just kills you! Look at that! Isn't that fucking weird? And it's only here. This is the only time in the entire game this ever happens. It's so fucking weird. Ugh, anyways. So, what he's doing is he's not allowing himself to bank or buy things off the Grand Exchange, you know, all the basic stuff an Iron Man can do. Well, banking is ultimate, but you know what I mean. So, and he's only staying in Mauritania, and ding 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 ding. I'm gonna do that every time I do this. I can't help myself. I'm like a 5-year-old. So, oh, I don't even have a Tesla gun yet. I just realized that. I don't have anything, really. I haven't been really actively searching for him, either. I don't really care. So, yeah. Steamboat. This is also a new kind of gimmick level. It's based on the train level. So, anyways, this level's actually pretty cool. I will admit, this is one of my favorite levels in the expansion. It's very neat. I like the idea, using all the space to the engine's advantage. And it's also some sector over sector stuff, which is pretty impressive. That is one thing I will say, but yeah, he's only doing a Mauritania area without banking. Jesus, I can't remember what his I think his early game agility was coming from, like, a check from, like, oh, what was it? The, oh, let's see if I can get the secret. It's a bit iffy, but you can see what it is. It's, oh, that's a nasty one. Okay, anyways, so yeah, his agility was, like, initially... So in RuneScape you have courses, right? You can do, like, the Gnome course. I'm talking old RuneScape, not, like, what's it called? Like, modern, current, old school, but rooftop agility is new. So, in the old days, you just had, like, Gnome Ball course, or sorry, Gnome course, you had, like, what's it called? These guys jib. Yeah, that's weird, I don't know why, but they do. And he was doing, like, an agility check, like the grotto, where you do Spirit of whatever. It's like an early... It's after Priest of Peril. It's that quest after it. And he basically just, like... went there with a shitload of food, and mind you, he doesn't have the bank. He's using just all 28 of his inventory slots, and that's it. So he's going like back and forth to get his agility. I've watched like 7 or 8 hours of it. I have it on like the background before I go to bed, and I just watch it every now and then when I'm doing dishes and stuff. But like most of his gear he got from like Barrows, but it took him like a week or something to get. Ah, Jesus, like his herb lore was locked behind like a ton of stuff. I think he intentionally did Druidic Ritual because you can't use herb lore in RuneScape without doing Druidic Ritual. You just can't do it. The skill won't actually upgrade. So, yeah. It was really cool. I've seen most, if not all of it, so... But, like I said, mainly when I'm doing editing or, like, doing dishes or something. So, it's pretty fascinating. I've also been a fan of By Release, which is another one by Jimmy, who he does content in the game only at the time it came out, and by, like, chronological order. Like, I like how he even went... Oh, man, watching him get his fire cape is, like, fucking dopamine adrenaline rush. Like, he did it with, like, really shitty gear. I mean, I actually don't have a fire cape. I know that's probably shocking because you're like, wow, you play RuneScape a lot, you don't have a fire cape? I'm like, no, I've never had one either. It's... I don't know, it's not even, like, a stress thing, it's just the time. That's my main issue, right? Like, I just don't have the time for it. I had to, like, dedicate a day or so to get it. I know how to do it extensively. I mean, I have, like, 75 range, I have, like, base 80 stats. So, yeah, I know. As soon as you hear me say base 80 in all my stats, I'm like a combat 109. Like, yeah, my current one's 109. I have, like, fucking full bandos, like, everything. Like, primordial boots. I've got, like... You know, all these things. Oh, by the way, I've never actually fought General Grador. I've only fought General Grador with friends in the past. We used to do raids, back before there was raids, quote-unquote. We used to just farm God Wars dungeon and stuff. So I'm not dumb. I just never have had a fire cape because it takes... Oh god, I don't even remember how long it takes to get a fire cape. It takes like about an hour of your time, and... Yeah, there's little things you can do here and there that make it, you know, doable, I guess. Like, there's methods you can use to, like, speed it up. Like, you can... I mean, Toxic Blowpipe, obviously. I'm not that fucking sadistic. I have all the equipment for it. I have... full... Well, I have Blessed D'hide, which is pretty decent. I think Blessed D'hide is better than what I almost said Aram's Carol's. So, like, I have all the equipment to do it. I have got, like, 80... What is it, 83 or 84 herblore, so I can actually... Oh, excuse me. I can actually make my own Cerebrews. I can make my own Super Restores. You know, I have all the equipment and, like, skills to do it just without losing anything if I die. It's just the time loss, man. There's something really brutal about dying to Jad. Those of you who don't know, Jad used to be the highest level monster in all of RuneScape. And it, like... It can kill you in, like, what, 2 hits? It hits all 3 styles. And he's a good introduction to learning how to read bosses. Also, by the way, the ship is now repopulated. It's a good way to learn... like, prey flicking in a good way, because, I mean, I prey flick when I do Slayer tasks and everything, because I like to practice, obviously. There's some monsters I don't flick on. I don't flick on cave horrors, because it's just... why? It's too dangerous, because I don't go there with a Witchwood icon. I do it just with, like, Protect Melee. But yeah, Jad hits for, like, fucking, like, 70s and shit. Like... And keep in mind, the max health you can have is like 99. So, well, 100 with an X HP cape. But, yeah, like, Jad can kill you in 1 hit with melee if you get close enough. Which you really should not. But back in the day, we didn't have, like, what's it called? Like, Toxic Blowpipe. The best in slot at my time, before I left, was... Well, God Wars was out, but I'm talking the average player. The average player, oh man, if you think the prices and shit are high now, I swear, go back to like that time frame and then tell me that the prices were like anywhere similar. They were like, so for reference, Nex came out for old school recently, right? So I think day one, the prices for Nex were like really, really low. I think it was only like a couple hundred mil. Now it's upwards to like the 300s of mil. I think, well, it's because it's best in slot and everyone realized the drop rates were really low. But yeah, man, it was like that. Like those prices, like I swear to God, like a Bandos hilt, just a Bandos hilt back then was like 400 mil. At least, easily. 400, maybe fucking... I don't even remember how much Bandos armor cost back then. It was like obscene. Like, I think it was somewhere in like the 200, 300s. It was ridiculous. And back then it was a lot harder to make money. And we also didn't have all these guides and shit we have nowadays to do these things effectively. So, yeah, it was totally different. But yeah, now that Nexus came out and everyone realized the drop rates are low, getting best in slot is unbelievable. But oh yeah, best in slot at the time would have been Carol's, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Blessed D'hide, but I don't think Blessed D'hide existed then. Because I know... Well, if it did, it must have been incredibly rare, because I don't think I remember... Oh shit, I forgot to grab the key. This is one of the worst examples of this. I do this every time I play this level. But, because Blessed D'hide has slightly higher stats than Carol's, but it was based from clue scrolls, and I'm pretty sure it was incredibly expensive back then. Also, I'd say this is the hardest level in the level pack, probably. Blessed D'hide now, it's still relatively expensive, but it's manageable. It's not really that crazy. Dude, when fucking Barrows came out and those things were new, oh man, people like fucking price gouged them like crazy. It was nuts. Barrows was really expensive back then, and it was best in slot for the longest time. It was best in slot till God Wars came out. So, and for most players, God Wars content was unfeasible. Getting full Bandos back then was really hard. So doing Jad with like Torags was what you did. Like, you did it with Torags or Darox. You didn't fuck around. Well, you wouldn't do it realistically. You'd be using Carols. So you'd be using Carols and then probably a rune crossbow with... It's hard to say because I don't remember if enchanted bolts were very common back then. I don't think I personally used them very often. I think most players like myself used enchanted bolts for PvP. So I don't think we used them very much for bossing, if we did at all. Especially, Jesus, why would you want to waste them on that? There's no money reward for Jad. There's Tokal, but it's not the same. So at this point in time, like, you'd be using Carol's... Well, you could use Carol's crossbow. It wasn't terrible. It was just okay. I mean, it's still an okay weapon, but the problem is you can only fire Carol's bolts. That's the problem, and it still has... It's always been the problem. So, like, back then, people would have probably done what I'm saying. Like, they'd be using Carol's with, like, rune crossbow, probably using rune bolts. I think the gear would have been about the same for your inventory. Well, you'd be using an accumulator as well. You'd be using an accumulator and probably... I don't think... Well, I know Dagonoth Kings have been out for a while. They were relatively older content. They still kind of are. They're just really fun to boss. So, in terms of, like, that, I'd say they'd probably be using, like, the Ranger Ring, if I had to guess. Like accumulator, that sounds about right in my mind. And you probably have Super Restores and Cerebrews. And I think maybe some Karambwans and maybe Sharks? There was no Anglerfish back then. It was only... Shit. Yeah, it was only shit. It was only Sharks and monkfish were the most plentiful at that time. Manta ray, I don't think had came into the game yet. I think that was much later. Maybe that was after my time, I don't know. But there was also... Well, Karambwans was, like... Not everybody knew about that. Like, I still don't do it. But you also wouldn't probably waste, like... Oh, excuse me. You probably wouldn't waste an inventory slot on Karambwans. You'd probably be using, realistically, just straight up, like, Super Restores and Sarah Brew. I mean, I would. That's probably what I would have done. I don't think I've ever gotten to Jad. I've gotten very, very close in the past, and it's not easy. Jad can fucking knock your head in really quick, so there's no competition that Jad was ever easy. So I think the other problem was I was using melee back then, so I got to like wave maybe 30 or so, 30 or 40, and I think in my mind at the time we all just assumed that the bosses, or sorry, the mobs were all just like, you know, standard. Like, we didn't probably know that the bats drain prayer. We probably didn't know that at all. It's not even a surprise to me, honestly. There we go. And this gets this key. It's a little bit of a weird one, but it is where you get it. But yeah, I don't think we knew, like, the bats drain prayer. I don't think we knew, like... I think most people also didn't know which class was what. Like, you didn't know that the rangers were... Like, it's one of those situations where this was just old. Like, this was just how old school, like, actually old was. Like, old RuneScape was really, like, just... Oh, you hope and pray that what you're doing is correct. Like, I think that was just the attitude most of us had it, like, with. And I still kind of try not to fall in that loop either. Because it's very easy just to not look it up and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then I remember it and it's completely wrong. Because, you know, you probably didn't do it correctly back in the day or whatever. Like, oh man. I used to think, God, why do people have, like, the Slayer Helm? That's so stupid. Nowadays, I'm like, yeah, why would you not use Slayer Helm? That's just nuts. But I also don't have any imbues. Yeah, like, I don't fucking pay any attention to imbues. I'm just lazy. I've done Nightmare Zone, I just don't like it. I think it's just not very exciting content. I think that you should be able to imbue in a different way that doesn't promote AFK laziness. That's my lazy hater thing. I'm not saying I hate, like, AFK content, but I feel like it's something that's so hard to balance because it's just, you know, it's so iffy. Nobody wants to imbue their equipment. I personally don't want to do it either. It's because imbuing takes literally hundreds of hours to get, like, well, maybe not hundreds. It takes about an evening, probably. But you could do so much more important things in way more, like, efficient ways, rather than just doing, like, farming Nightmare Zone. And then it's just, like, I don't find that fun, because it doesn't... Well, A, there's no challenge. It's just... Oh, God. Well, there is challenge if you want to take it seriously, but that's the point. Why would you take it seriously? That's... I don't know. It's one of those, like... I don't think it's dead content. I don't think it's bad. I just think there should be other ways to imbue other than a very, very, very repetitive, very boring, like... I just don't like it. It's something that I don't think I'm alone here. It's like Tithe Farm. I don't think Tithe Farm itself is bad. I think Tithe Farm... Oh, shit. Tithe Farm is tedious. There's not a lot of gameplay to doing it. It's just the planting aspect of farming. So, I have a herb sack, I have a rune pouch, I have an, you know, ensouled head holder, or sorry, the soul bearer. I have... Oh, what else? I have, like, all the main ones except Seed Box. Because, A, Seed Box to me is a little bit redundant. Because seeds already stack. I know you'd be like, oh, well, what if you want to fight, like, Necreals? Just bank. That's what you do. You go back and you bank. Besides, I'd rather do clue scrolls, so... Like, I think, honestly, that's another thing, too. I wish that they'd take wilderness steps. I actually saw a really cool thing on Reddit a couple days ago that was, like, clue scrolls that are only, like, in the wilderness and can only be completed in the wilderness. And, like, all the steps are only in Wildy, and they can only be cashed in the wilderness. I think that's a good idea, much like Konar Slayer, or whatever her name is. That's also the way to get to Boggy Creek. I'm not really doing it. It's not really in my best interest. But, also that level is a reference to The Legend of Boggy Creek, which is a really excellent Sasquatch film. Well, mockumentary film. I like it. It's fucking creepy. I love it. So, also you can see this is the pass, like, in the levels. They have, like, a little bit of a lore in them. So, yeah, I think Mountain Pass might be my least favorite level in this bunch. It's just a little too big. It's a little too ambitious. But I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's not my cup of tea. That's all I can say. It's cool, but I don't like it. So, it feels like a level out of, like, Shadow Warrior, basically. It doesn't feel like it belongs in Blood. And it's a little bit dickish. There we go. So there's a lot of cultists in this area, and that's what makes it really annoying. There's also some armor up there. I think I just got a miss. Ugh, that's frustrating. So, anyways, I think, unfortunately, there is dead content in RuneScape. I think that's just the given, right? There's so much. And I know that problem persists in RuneScape 3, which is the current version of RuneScape. Like, the not old school variant. And, like, they did it with graphics, too. I know they didn't, like, update a lot of the graphics when HD came out. Me, personally, I don't even use RuneLight, by the way. I don't really care. Like, I like the aesthetic of RuneScape a lot. I think it's very specific to it, and I don't like the idea of changing it. I mean, the older areas, people go, oh, it looks ugly. It's like, that's just what it looks like, man. I don't mind it very much, and neither should you. It is jarring, I can say that, when it's juxtaposed to other content, but there is definitely dead content in RuneScape, I will say that. I will always say that that's a thing. Like, I don't do trawler for fishing. I've never done trawler. I don't have any interest. I know that they were complaining at Jagex that people didn't use trawler because they liked it, which is one of the reasons they added Temporos. Which I've never done. I don't actually have, like, a lot of bossing under my belt in recent years. So, this thing just makes me think of Blood. It really, or sorry, of Shadow Warrior. It really does. Also, I'll show you guys a little engine secret doodad cool for all the cool kids. So, see this texture here, right? This is because this is just a moving sector, essentially. And we'll open that up and move it around. Yeah, the texture scrolls, because these are not supposed to be able to be seen. So, like, it's because it's a moving sector. It's not really supposed to do that at all. Basically, dead content exists, and you can always say, well, how would you fix it? And the only thing I can think of is either A, take it out, but then you have stuff missing, and it's weird. That's the problem, isn't it? Like, how do you take old content and make it better without completely saying it's garbage, basically? I don't know. I think Barrows is a good example of old content that gets well used. Because Barrows has good armor. Like, early game, well, even mid-game, you really like Barrows armor. Now, there is one problem, is the only upgrade to it is incredibly expensive, with, like, Bandos, obviously. It beats Rune a hell of a lot, but it doesn't have any strength bonus or anything. It's just, well, for most players, they're going to use Darox for bossing, using some sort of weird, like, rock cake strategy, or they're going to be using Torags because it's tanky. So, that becomes a problem, right? you've only got so many things you can use. I'm gonna take some coffee and while this thing raises. But yeah, that's, to me, something that's always been a problem is there's not enough like content before you get to like the final tiers, right? Like in terms of equipment. I know people like, oh, use split bark for this or use that. I don't want to. I'm stubborn and lazy. That's the RuneScape strategy in a nutshell, right? So how do you make new content out of quote-unquote dead content? And I think that's a hard part. But I mean, if you're playing as an Iron Man, you're probably going to have more fun with that than an average player. Because as an Iron Man, everything's different. Also, I don't think this thing's supposed to have a texture problem, but it does. So, basically though, like there's just, like, okay, who the hell uses, snail or like whatever is a food source? Who the hell uses lava eels other than that one quest where you have to do it? Who uses like the back area of Lumbridge Swamp? Why would you ever go back there? Like there needs to be more stuff. But I think the only problem is we all know what to do and no one's going to be stupid and use like old content that's not good. They're going to want to use the most efficient and brand new stuff. So creating new is a lot harder than it sounds. I mean, there's been instances like Temporos. I mean, it's a new boss. Everybody wants to kill it because they get a pet. They don't care if it has good drops. They just want a pet. It gives some, like, new life to what is otherwise old and out-of-date content. And that's a good way to do it. I think it's not the most efficient strategy, but like, how do you fix, like, what are they going to do with the duel arena, right? Like, what happens when the duel arena goes away, which I can't wait for it to either. You can argue it's the only place to go PKing. It's like, dude, just go in the wilderness. Like, go in the wilderness and do PKing. There's, like, Castle Wars. There's fucking, like, there's so many other ways to do PvP. I can't stand that really anemic argument. All it does is incentivize players to lose money, and I think it's just unhealthy for the economy of the game too, and it's not what it was intended to be at this point in time. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but it's definitely got a really negative stigma for a very good reason, and I don't think it does anything good for the game. That's why I'm like, yeah, I'm totally okay with it being taken out. I went there one time, and I was really young and said, this is really stupid and shitty, and I left. And I even told one of my friends when he got into old school, I was like, don't go to the duel arena, dude. And he's like, oh, why? I'm like, just trust me, don't do it. And then he went there, he staked, and then he lost all the fun because he had basically max cash, and then he had nothing to do. And I'm like, you see, that's the problem. You get all the max cash you want, and then you have nothing to do. You've basically fucked your account. Well, I wouldn't say you fucked it, but it's definitely... It's not in a state where you're going to be able to have fun in the same way you used to. So, I think that's my... I don't play Iron Man, but I play Proto-Iron Man. Like, if I can't be asked, like, I'll just go and buy something off of the GE. Like, how serendipitous. Spider eggs, right? Like, do I really want to go and farm fucking red spider eggs in, like, the wilderness, or, like... I know there's that place in, what's it called? It's in Kourend. It's got one of the mini dungeons in it that has a red spider egg spawner. It's got, like, 6. It's got, like, 9 of them, and it's really close to a bank as well. Fucking hell, I hate this spot. It is really hard to tell where you're at. No, I don't want to be there. I want... Okay. It all looks the same. That's my biggest problem. So let's try going here instead. This it? No, this is not it at all. Oh my god. How about this one? No. And this one. There we go, finally. It's very untextured. This looks really bad. Even by this era of gaming standards, this looks really bad. Also, this is not very hard. You'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. I like this, though. It's really fucking tense. Like, oh, it's just 2 hellhounds, and then you pass them, and then it's just like fucking 12. It's like, oh, excuse me? I like that. It's actually kind of cool. But they're not very hard. You can just cheese them out. But yeah, it's like, there's so many things in the game that I think is so hard moving forward. It's like, just play RuneScape 3 then. Yeah, but it's not the same kind of game. And I think a lot of it is because it's quote-unquote easier. And I don't think that a game being accessible is bad. I'm talking about if a game is inherently too easy, then you don't have fun. Like, you can just microtransaction your account and get, like, max everything, and it's just, that's really boring. Like, nobody wants to do that. That's one of the reasons why people like me are against the duel arena, is because we realize that much money and having that kind of shit in the game just breaks the economy. And as a quote-unquote proto-Iron Man, because let's face it, I really don't use, like, anything on the GE except for buying some herb ingredients I don't really give a shit about finding. Like, spider eggs, obviously. Mortmeyer fungus, oh god, yes, thank you so much that exists on the GE. But all my herb lore is from farming, and yeah, I know farming didn't exist for the longest time in the game. So you used to not actually be able to do that. It's like tokens. So in RuneScape 3, that's why summoning was notoriously shitty to level, was because summoning had, like, tokens that were untradeable, and they were only found from monster drops. And they all had different flavors of, like, tokens, like, I think it was, what, gold, green, red, blue. I don't know, it's been like 15 years since I've done it, but it was really shitty and really annoying. That's how farming used to be. It was only through monster drops, and farming added, what do you know, growing herbs, so it was a lot easier to train it. Because herb lore has been in the game since forever. Also, this is the only time this game actually does this. This is actually a lethal fall. So, I mean, there's nothing in there, just pain and suffering and misery. So, yeah, when, like, herb lore first came out, it was called Herb Law, and you actually didn't, like I said, you didn't have the GE, you didn't have all this shit to go and just, like, oh, look, I can just buy herb lore. You just couldn't do that back then. It was actually very hard to max skills. There used to not actually be skill capes either. There was also no run feature on your HUD. There was no... I mean, a lot of players coming into old school don't realize how truly challenging it used to be. Like, if you wanted to see your health, you went over to your stats screen. If you wanted to see your prayer points, you flicked open your prayer tab. If you wanted to run, you went over to your, like, settings. It was not like it is now. It was a lot harder. It was a lot more meticulous. And I'm not saying that those implementations ruined the game. It made prayer flicking actually possible. This doesn't kill you, and I promise this doesn't kill you. Watch. This is not supposed to happen. This is supposed to actually kill you. So, don't think I'm full of shit this time, right? Ah, what the hell. So anyways, yeah, back in the day, it was genuinely challenging to level. It was genuinely challenging to level herb lore. So, like, if you wanted to get max herb lore, nowadays you just go on GE and you buy 8 bajillion, like, Irits and Eye of Newt. I don't do that. I actually, like, use all my farming contracts. I use all the seeds from my farming contracts to get my other things, and I use, like, what's it called? So when I'm doing Slayer, I pick up every seed except for Irrit, Haralander, and like Guam and Marintil. But I pick up like the grimy variants using Herb Bag because it stores like 400 herbs, so why would you not? And I just sell those for unfinished potions. But other than that, I don't actually buy anything on the GE, really. I buy, like, quest supplies, yes. Why would you not? Jesus H. Christ, why would you not buy quest supplies, right? So, when you're doing, like, Slayer, like, nowadays I just buy monkfish, right? But if I had the ability to, I just fish them. It doesn't take very long. Like, I only use so much food, or... I don't use sharks, because sharks are expensive and I'm lame, and I don't want to spend money. So... But like I said, I prey flick most of the time. So a lot of the stuff in RuneScape I buy is completely useless. Like, I don't... Or not useless, I should say, but it's... I don't really contribute to the economy, because all I do is sell farming crops. And I only sell... So, like, when I'm making... I'll take you through a month in the life of me as a RuneScape player. So, I do roughly 3 or 4 farming runs every day. I do herbs and limpwort root, and I do farming contracts. This is also the last level in the pack. So, I do herbs, limpwort, and then I do contracts every day. So, like, every hour or so I log in and check it out. I do it at work as well. I have the time at work, by the way. I don't piss around. So, basically... And then... So every month, I have, like... Oh, I don't even know. Right now I'm sitting on, like, 25 mil, I'm pretty sure. Like, just 25 mil in raw gold. I have, like I said, I have Bandos, I've got Primordial Boots, I've got, like... Abyssal Dagger, Whip, like... I have all the basic gear, right? So... Well, not basic, but you know what I mean. Endgame gear. Before, like, raids, essentially. And, so every month, I actually cash out. So I'll sell, like, all my Yanilian hops, I'll sell all my... like, brews, all my super restores, energy pots, but I do keep about 20 every batch, like, and I just keep making them every day. That's why I grow Aventos, that's why I grow, like, you know, what are they called? CADs. I don't buy super combat, I just use Irrit leaves to make, you know, attack pots. I use limpwort roots and quarms. I use, like... I just basically use all your skills to your advantage. That's why I have so much gold. It's because I don't actually buy anything. And all the money I made was from Slayer and farming, so I don't really have to worry about anything. When it comes to, like, gear, obviously I bought my Bandos, because I'm not a fucking lunatic and I don't want to sit there for... Trying to find a team, first of all, is hard enough, because I have very few people in my life that actually play RuneScape. So, I've considered trying to get my RuneScape, like, party up through, like, Discord, but I just don't care enough, you know? That's the problem. It's a lot about trust. You really don't want to get into a guild with bad people. I used to be in a fucking guild, by the way. I used to be in a merch clan back in, like, 2008, 2009, with about 4 IRL friends, and I actually had our own guild. Like, I was guild head for a while, and it was just a few people we knew in real life, obviously, because that's what you want to do. You want to be the most badass kids ever, and, you know, we ran Barrows, because it was really good. This was before God Wars Dungeon came out. And then, of course, this is where I get to, like, describe my really fun... Oh, boy. So, I was part of a, like, group that... So, all of us knew each other in real life, right? There was, like... I don't know, maybe 6 of us, and then a handful of other people we just kind of associated with in real life. And that was it. So, we all knew each other, and my friend was a programmer who taught me some of the programming I know, and oh god, this is gonna be so fucked. You're gonna be like, really? Are you fucking serious? And this is where it gets really funny. So we used to actually, oh man, this was long time ago, so please forgive it, because I can tell you for a fact it was really shitty, and if my account hasn't been hacked and destroyed on this account, it doesn't surprise me, by this guy. So he actually, like, I don't know how he did it, he like advertised this private server he made. It was called T-Scape, I think was what we called it. It was like T-Scape or T-E-Scape or something. It was like his initials. And, or it was Monkeyscape? I can't remember. He bought like a private server license from some guy with like probably his grandmother's credit card. And so here's where it gets even more fun. So get ready for this shit. So I did run with him in this private server. I was an admin. I wasn't actually, like, I didn't have any of the accounting. He did all that himself. And so what we did was, because it was a private server, you had to use your own password, right? Because you're still using your RuneScape credentials, and this is where it gets really shitty really fast. This goes from, like, scumbag to fucking douchebag really quick. So what we did was, it was a private server, and it had all the item spawns, and since I was an admin, I could just spawn items, right? And I was one of, like, 2 admins, and then my friend was the one that was in charge of the server. So we did PvP practice. That's how we learned how to do PvP back then. And, mind you, I don't remember how to do PvP effectively at all. We just were awful. Anyways, so to get into this guild of shitty people, my friend like advertised it on probably some like back alley website, and like, and so of course, because it's a blacklist whitelist, you want to make sure we had like 13-14 people on the server, not including us, and you know, they just did PvP practice because, you know, you just use a hex editor and then like add in items. Basically, it's not very difficult, but it's very fucking illegal, especially when he made them give them their account information, so he actually had access to their passwords. So if shit ever went south, he'd just like hack into their account and like ban them, like through like bullshit. And I remember like this shit scared me so bad. One day he was like, we were just having a conversation, and he just says, "Yeah, Oblivion does pwn." That was my really old RuneScape password, and like, oh, I mean, it was a variation of it, and my fucking jaw just like hit the floor because he keylogged my computer to find out my password, and he also keylogged like everybody on the server, and he had their information, like he had their fucking like bank pin probably. It wouldn't even surprise me. It was fucking scary. You know, and I was like, I don't think we should be doing this, and he's like, oh, what do you mean, quit being a pussy, and like like, oh my god, dude, it was fucking cool. Like, yeah, I was literally part of, like, a, like, RuneScape, like, black market fucking, like, scam site, basically. Inadvertently, I should say. Well, I was an admin. I didn't really play it very often, because I just played regular. If he was like, hey, you want to jump on the server? I'd be like, yeah, sure. And we just do PvP with a couple people. But you had to give them, like, you had to give him your account information to do it, and he had all these people's accounts, including mine and his brother's and like a handful of our friends, and it was really scary because he basically waved it over our heads that I could fuck your account up like anytime, and it was really scary. So yeah, that was awful. So yeah, when I say I used to do PvP as well, what we used to do was we used to go in the wilderness. We had 3 people. We'd be using Ancients, obviously, because who the fuck uses anything that's not Ancients, right? And we'd use Ancients, and we'd, like, rope-a-dope some dudes. Usually we'd scam them. That would be the other thing we used to do. I love how everyone probably thinks I'm, like, the most wholesome person, but back in RuneScape, in, like, my greasy teenage years, I was a fucking monster. And RuneScape just let you do it, basically. So yeah, we basically ran this, like, scam that worked really well. We usually find really scrubby people that we could tell were scrubs and knew. And it was hard to anti-scam back then because there wasn't people like Sir Pugger and all these other people that, like, they show what people do and how they abuse the system, basically. Like, that didn't exist. You just said, okay, cool, this is probably a scam, maybe, who knows? And, oh man, it was bad. Like, we fucking, like, would find people and then lure them into the wilderness ditch. This was before the wilderness ditch was a thing as well, by the way, so this was a long time ago as well. We've been doing this for years. So, and before that, before Mystics, we just used, like, oh, I don't even remember, we just used, like, shitty throwaway rune gear. And, so, after a while, we just lure people in the wilderness. Usually they were doing clue scrolls or something like that, and we'd have one person, usually we'd stake, like, sorry, not stake, put place up in, like, I don't remember if the, like, kind of like the skilling area in the wilderness, I guess. I don't think that takes damage from that. I'm just going to leave him alone. Basically, we just follow people, and we do this in person. That's how we were able to do this so well, was we would actually, like, be like, okay, there's a guy over here, Billy Willy, go this way, and then, like, you know, we basically create a trinity of, like, bullshit for other people to experience. Yeah, we were awful. And we just basically gank squad people and take their items, and because all three of us were working in on it, sometimes we'd have a... Oh my god, that was bullshit. Oh, I don't want to do this over.
I need a key.
Fuck it, I'll just speed through it and then just keep telling you my... Well, we're right at the end, so it doesn't matter. I'll just speed through this. Basically what we did as well was we just kill all these, like, very innocent, like, players and just steal all their shit, and it was very scummy, and I am not happy with what we did. If I could go back in time and not do that, I probably wouldn't, because it was a very... It taught me a valuable lesson. Everybody on the internet is a fucking douchebag traitor that's gonna stab you in the back as soon as they have the ability. Don't trust anything another person says. People are awful. They will take your things without any reason. And I'm serious. We fucking kill people that were just, like, doing clue scrolls or, like, something that didn't even, like, have any risk. Like, we fucking look out for people in, like, the resource area. Like, we were monsters, dude. We didn't fucking care. We didn't have anyone telling us what we could and couldn't do. We were just, like, a bunch of douchebags. Like, we just didn't care. That was what made it so funny. We just did not care. So every time I die to somebody that's, like, you know, when I'm doing a clue scroll and they, like, they hit me and I have zero risk, you know what I say? In my mind, I get really fucking mad, and then I go, you know what? I did the exact same thing with other people, so I am nowhere better than the person doing that. It was a very fucking shitty thing that we used to do, and I fully admit it. There was nothing good about this. It just taught me a valuable lesson that people are awful. And we do this for hours. We do this, like, every fucking other day. So when you're like, wow, Seth seems like a wholesome person, not in my RuneScape career. I was an absolute fucking... Well, let's drop the big one. I was an absolute cunt at the time, basically. I was a real monster. I mean... I'm laughing about it now, but... Oh, this part's ass. So you gotta kill 2 Cerberuses, and it's really not hard, but it's just awful. It's just not a very interesting arena, basically, I think. That's my problem. So, yeah, basically, if there's anything you can take from this, it's when I was a young lad and given complete lack of supervision on the internet, the first thing we did was we just fucking were awful to other people. And I think that's what RuneScape is all about. Like, some of the shit we did was not bannable. Like, we didn't do anything wrong. It was just morally dubious. That's the best way to describe it. So there's an invincibility if you want to use it, but that's it. So, Having defeated the powerful Cerberuses, you take a moment to wonder if this strange journey might finally be over, because we couldn't be asked to animate anything and just using sprites. A section of wall opens to reveal the ancient scroll you have been seeking. You retrieve the scroll and return to the boat docks to resume your dark journey. And then it fucks up. So yeah, that's Cryptic Passage, and by extension, all of Blood. So, other than that really dumb death there that was a complete accident, that was pretty smooth. I really do enjoy Blood. It's not my favorite old school FPS, but it's pretty high up there, and I hope you guys enjoyed playing through it with me as well. And I'll see you in the next one.